Hi, I'm Kate,
And I'm Tony, and
and
this
this
is
is
Sip
Sip
and
and
Stim.
Stim.
Ba-bum, baby. Ba-bum, baby. Pour a cup, take a break, settle down, and join us on a whim. Gentle thoughts, honest talks, it's time for a sip and stim.
Welcome to Sip and Stim, where we bring awareness to autism and provide support to people within our community. We're so excited to have you here today. My name is Tony. I'm a behavior analyst, and a large population that I work with are children and adults that have autism.
And I'm Kate. I'm a parent of a 9 and a 10-year-old. Both children are on the spectrum, and I have a mental health background in autism as well. Tony, how about you go ahead and introduce a little bit about yourself and tell us about your degree and what you do for work?
So for me personally, I kind of fell into the field. I remember I was in high school, and in the state of Maryland, you have to get something in order to graduate. You have to get service learning hours. So I was desperately looking for opportunities that I actually enjoyed that I can make happen. When I was in high school, I was on sports teams and doing some rec things and just busy like most high schoolers are. So I actually reached out to my aunt, who ended up working in a special needs classroom for a nearby public school. And she mentioned, hey, we can always use extra hands. And luckily, it was within walking distance from my school. And I would make the 15-minute trek to the elementary school nearby each day after school. And I started acquiring my service learning hours. And I remember the first time that I got into the classroom, I didn't really know what to expect because yeah, I have people in my family, people that I know that have special needs, that have autism, but I didn't really quite know what autism was. And my first memory that like kind of made me fall in love with people that were on the spectrum and just very intrigued um, was when I walked into the classroom and there was a little boy watching cartoons. It was the end of the day, so they were waiting for like the school bus to like come and their parents to pick him up. And he knew every single word to the cartoons and the certain commercials, and my jaw just dropped. Like, okay, what is this? I didn't really understand what I was seeing, but I just knew that this child had an incredible um, memory. His pitch was perfectly on par with each word the characters were saying. Um, we speak about inflections, um, perfect, impeccable, and I was just really amazed. Um, and I just thought he was the cutest little thing. I remember he had like little glasses and a little mullet. He was just the cutest little boy. And then beyond that, I got to know the other children in the classroom and how different each child was. Now, these children weren't just specifically, autistic or weren't on the spectrum, but varying disabilities. And in general, I'm a kid person in general, but they were just adorable. And that really was kind of what got me started on this journey. I mean, there's many things from there to where I am now. But that was kind of like the moment that like kind of grabbed me, and I instantly had this draw towards children with special needs. And honestly, just people with special needs in general. I've just kind of created that magnetization with me and others. How about you, Kate?
So my journey started a little bit differently. So I went to college for music, and when I graduated, uh, I had deferred two grad school opportunities. Um, the one school I really wanted to go to was extremely expensive, and I decided I was going to take a year off to try to save up some money to see, if moving to Baltimore was possible. Um, and so I decided to get a job at a local mental health facility. And I was, I guess they were sifting through some applications and came across mine and saw that I had some previous experience working at a summer camp in Lancaster with some kiddos that had ASD. Um, Very few of them did, and they were very high functioning, and it was nothing formal. Um, so they had pulled my application to join in on a program, a new program that was starting at the Center for Autism here in Lancaster. And that program was brand new. I would have been the second or third tech, I believe, that they had hired. And that that was kind of like the start of my professional side of things. So I ended up only planning a year with the company, and then going to grad school. But I ended up loving my clients and loving the work that I was doing so much that I just decided to not go to grad school and I stayed. Um, and so the the program just kind of stuck with me, and I ended up staying for 8 years. My position did change within the company, but I was ultimately 8 years at the same program. Um, on a personal side, not the professional side, I was kind of put onto this journey personally. I mean, I didn't really have a choice. When you have a kid, when you have a child that is born with autism, you don't really get the choice there. So you kind of, it is a journey, and every day is a new one, but you learn to live with what you've been given, and we just kind of go with the flow.
Yeah, that's what you do as a mom.
Yeah,
You make it
exactly.
work. You make it work.
Yes. Yep, you sure do.
So it's funny because I feel like we have a lot of things in common that I didn't realize. I was studying through a community college studying music. Um,
Oh,
and I have an associate's degree in vocal performance. And when I was in high school, I actually was studying art, and I was looking to go to Maryland Institute College of Art, and
huh.
nothing just really felt right. And I remember when I graduated high school, I just took a break from school, which everyone was really upset because they're like, You're not going to art school?" And it just didn't, I love art, but it just didn't feel right. I didn't want to lose like the joy I had in it by being
Mhm.
forced to do it daily. I actually studied at Maryland Institute College of Art for a summer when I was in high school, but um, I took a break and then I kind of like dabbled in a bunch of other things, but just for me, it just was kind of like a magnetization. Like I just kept coming back to working with individuals that were um, impacted by, varying disabilities, specifically autism, really a huge part in my journey. Like I just kept finding individuals that, a friend that had a sibling that had autism that I became really good friends with. Different children in my family were being diagnosed and just meeting people. But it's funny that we both kind of started off more on the artsy path and kind of led down to the more, I guess you could call it clinical, scientific. In your case, it's more, maternal
Yeah.
situation. Um, but yeah, just find it very interesting.
Yeah.
Um, for me, when I was in the classroom, um, all respect to educators and teachers, but the one thing that I really noticed was um, how smart these children were, and um, that there was education occurring, but I felt like they were so capable of so much more. And I
Mm.
couldn't really put my finger on it. And, when I would come into the classroom, it was closer towards the end of the day. So the children were like, I'm done, long
Mhm.
day. But that was one thing that I kind of noticed. And I just kind of like, they're so smart, each one in their own way, very individualized.
Mhm.
Um, and I just felt like the opportunities for them to shine weren't really there.
Mm.
Um, and that's kind of like something else that sparked my interest in going into the route of studying ABA more
Mm.
heavily. Um, I didn't really understand then, what I was seeing, like the need that I was seeing. But after, and then we'll talk a little more about, my path and how I got from where I was to where I am now. But I didn't realize what I was seeing, but there was something in me that intrinsically knew there's so much more and they're so more capable than what they're able to show.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. And we see that, every day with our two children, both of our kids, both of my children have autism, and they are on opposite sides of the spectrum. My daughter is extremely intelligent, bright, very much into music, dramatic, like drama, arts, things like that. And then we have my son who is very low functioning, or on the lower functioning side. And he has a lot of medical components that come along with it, but he has a lot of different gifts socially that we notice that my daughter lacks. So it's very different, seeing kind of the difference and what is similar between both of my kids. So I can only imagine what you saw in the classroom.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's really important for, parents to walk away and to be able to recognize that their child does have strengths and have the tools and be able to feel equipped to help their child shine and to um, you know every person wants to live a life that's dignifying, that's meaningful, that brings them joy. And yeah, I think it's really important for parents to have hope for a positive future and to feel capable of supporting their child and meeting them where they are. Um, yeah, I think it's really important.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And also, there's a lot of parents out there who have a difficult time seeing the joy in life with a child that has special needs. Um, and so I'm hopeful that, through this podcast, hopefully we can give, even if it's just one parent, a little bit of hope and, brighten their day. That's enough for me. So,
Yeah, yep.
yeah,
Celebrate the small things.
yeah,
Laugh in the struggles.
yes,
I mean, it's
yep,
not always easy, but I mean, you were sharing that a little bit the other day when we were talking, and that just really like helped me to put things in perspective. And actually, I found myself doing that in my own life. The other day, I was just like laughing because what else do you do? What else do you
yeah,
do? It's chaos.
it
Parenting
is.
alone is chaos, and I'm sure that when you have a child that has extra needs, and it's even more intense. So
Hmm.
let's just laugh through it.
Yeah, exactly.
So for me, talking a little about our stories. Um, so I actually was born and raised in Baltimore. Um, I now live in southern Pennsylvania, but I do most of my professional work in Maryland. I'm looking to expand in the Pennsylvania area, but kind of what took me from being more in entry level ABA to now, being a BCBA myself and serving in working in a variety of roles. So I actually started my journey, like I shared earlier, just getting my service learning hours. So that was like high school, 2006. No, actually earlier than that because I graduated 2006. So probably 2002 is when I started acquiring those hours. And then I took a little break and wasn't really sure what I was going to do with my future. Decided that, I enjoyed the arts, enjoyed music, but it just kept feeling like it wasn't the right fit for me. I actually started working for a big tech company and did that for a while. And I just remember leaving work and feeling like, okay, I did my job. Maybe I have stepped up the ladder a little bit and I feel a little bit quote unquote smarter, but really, what did I do? What difference did I make today? And I didn't really feel like I was making a difference. Um, Meanwhile, I was actually, and this is I'm kind of actually backtracking a little bit. Um, I started working with individual adolescent through the autism waiver through Maryland. So many states have autism waivers,
Mhm.
and Maryland has one. Sadly, it's you have to wait like I think 11 years to even to have your name pop up, which is
That's
just in
insane.
itself sad.
Mhm.
Um, and these, the waiver does a variety of things. So you have respite, and then you have actual, teaching skill acquisition. And I worked for this family and this young man for 7 years, which is probably unheard of for most cases. And I think part of it was just feeling a sense of loyalty to them. And also probably that pull, just knowing that like this was something that I was really passionate about. And I was kind of getting my fill of helping and making a difference, meanwhile working in a setting that really wasn't the setting that I was designed to work in long term. And then I decided at some point, I've had it, I want to make a difference, and I want to go back to school for my special education degree. So I took a huge pay cut and I just started putting applications out there, and I actually got uh, a job offer for a school that I didn't know at the time that uses ABA methodologies within their classrooms. I had no clue. I didn't ever know what ABA was. And I was like, okay, well, this is going to be a pay cut, but I am going to do it because I can't bear leaving work every day thinking that I make a difference. Um, so I started the job, loved it, was hard, backbreaking work. But it was so meaningful and so fun. And I got to play with children all day long, and it was just great. I learned so much. And then I started realizing, wow, if I would have known what I know now back when I was providing services for my client, the one that I serviced for 7 years, what a difference I could have made. And I still feel regret to this day. Like, if I knew what I knew then, I could have
Mhm.
helped him differently. And, thankfully, he's doing amazing. So I got to go to his graduation. He's doing great things.
Oh, that's
Um,
lovely.
yeah, it was pretty cool that I got that invite
Mm.
to the graduation. I actually was bawling my eyes out. That was a wonderful school
Oh.
that he was attending there that I don't think actually uses, straight up ABA methodologies. There are ABA methods and everything that we see, even in the public school systems, you'll see that in there a little bit. But I just saw the difference that I was making, and I in Maryland, they actually don't call them BHTs. They're that there's different things in Pennsylvania and versus Maryland. Like I live on the line, so I'm always comparing the different states. But there's something called a registered behavior technician.
Mhm.
And I actually never got that certification because I was going to school. I was going for my master's program, and I was like, I don't love taking tests. And I just decided, you know what, whatever. I'm staying focused on my degree. And then I end up getting my passing my or finishing my master's program. I went into a couple different roles in that school. I was doing some direct work. I became a classroom teacher. Prior to that, I was doing more of a 2-to-1 ratio where the children were able to handle not they didn't need a 1-to-1
Mhm.
therapist working with them directly. And that was a great learning experience. I mean, that really set the foundation for where I'm at today. And actually, I I didn't get my BCBA before I left that school. I actually got the letter that I passed my board exam a month after my first was born, and which I kind of did it because again, I hate taking tests and it was kind of my way of like delaying it. But also it was like, you know what? I'm gonna have this little one, and even if I don't pass, I'll still have this insane sense of joy. Thank goodness I did pass the exam. So, and from there it was, sort of history. I mean, every day I'm still learning and I'm still shaping myself into who I'll be and how I will serve the community. But I became a BCBA, and yeah, that's where I'm at today.
How long have you been a BCBA?
So since 2018.
Okay.
So yeah, my first is my little time marker there for me. Um, I started practicing. I got past my board exam September 2018, and then I started working for an insurance-based organization in January of 2019.
Okay.
But the interesting thing is that because my experience was so stellar at the school that I worked at, um, I slid right into that role. I was writing IEPs. I was teaching several students. I was supervising their one-to-one therapist. I was meeting with families. Um, it was fun because I got to utilize or I got to focus on the educational components in addition to just the typical things that one might focus on when you're working through like an insurance-based company, communication and social skills and such so forth. But yeah, so technically a BCBA since 2018. It's been great. It's definitely my thing.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it's a hard test to pass. I hear it's very, very challenging.
Yeah,
There's a lot of people who don't go for their BCBA because of the test.
I think things have changed a bit since I took it. I I passed it. All I know is I was terrified.
Yeah,
And yeah, so I'm grateful I passed it. I'm grateful for this opportunity for sure.
yeah, yeah, it's great. And it's a great profession, and I can say that since my husband is a BCBA too. So
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, yep.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so he got his BCBA back in, I think it was like 2018, 2019.
Okay,
Um, yeah, so right around the same time you did.
great.
Um, yeah, so yeah, it my son Grayson is really the main reason why I like to speak out and inform people about like my story. Um, yeah, so Grayson, he was born like your typical 37 and a half week, child. Um, and he developed fairly normally. He was born with like a huge port wine stain on the left side of his face. And it was alarming at first because, our daughter wasn't born with anything like that. And we had raised some concern with the pediatrician when she came in to visit at the hospital. But we were told that it wasn't anything to worry about. I think the direct quote was, it's just a stork bite, it'll go away. Um, but it didn't. It actually got darker before we left the hospital. And his hearing test, he passed on the right side, but he failed on the left side. Um, we didn't really think anything of it. They had just told us, you'll have to just follow up with like an audiologist, like no problem. So we were discharged and went home. He finally passed his hearing test like 2 or 3 weeks after discharge. Um, and he continued to develop fairly, on par, no problem. Um, Around 10 months, we noticed that he wasn't really like looking at us or like the camera if I tried to take pictures of him.
Mm.
Um, and he cried a lot more than our daughter did. Um, and just did not want to be held a whole lot, was a lot more content just kind of hanging out in his bassinet, but he was very curious. Um, and so I didn't really think much of it. Um, I just kind of chalked it up to, well, he's a boy and he just might be different than what our daughter
Right.
was like. And so things kind of got a little bit more serious when he was around 12 months. He just would not respond to anybody. He did not Like when I would come home from work, he would not greet me at the door or like look happy to see me. Um, he really only wanted dad. And it was just really it was a hard time for me because, here my new baby really didn't want anything to
Right.
do with me, and it was really sad. Um, and
Was that
so
an abrupt shift for you? Was that like, was he doing those things beforehand and then stopped, or was it just kind of something you noticed that
no,
just never occurred?
he never was never really attached to me at all. And it was a total opposite because my daughter was. And so the first like 2 years of his life, I always say I was furniture. I just was kind of there, and he did not want anything to do with me. And it was really difficult. He would have tantrums and he cried all day long, and I didn't know what to do. I couldn't help him. Um, and so he, I think I had mentioned before, he does have some other medical components with his autism, but he had his first seizure at 13 months. And it was that was kind of like the turning point for us. He did not have his diagnosis yet of autism, and he uh, we were just it was a Saturday morning. We were just at home cooking breakfast, and he was sitting and reading a book. And the next thing I know, I turn around and he's face down, completely unresponsive, and that that was kind of it.
It's terrifying.
Very much so. Luckily, we have a dog who is wonderful, and he was actually the one who alerted us to Greyson being unresponsive. So we were able to get. I was able to administer CPR. We got him out and got him to the hospital via ambulance. And once we got him there, they did all of the testing and everything like that, and basically told us we needed to find a neurologist. And that's really where everything started. It started with that seizure, and uh, right after that, I had early intervention come out, and they did an evaluation, and that's really kind of how everything kind of came to be. After early intervention came out, they had said, you really need to have him evaluated for autism. That was difficult because I worked at the only really place in Lancaster that was doing autism diagnoses for younger kids, at least at the time. Um, and so that made it a little bit hard for me because I was going to be taking my child to where I work to
Right. Yeah.
get the diagnosis. Yeah. So, I mean, my coworkers were great. They were very, they treated him like a normal patient, and like they were very professional. Um, but he was given a level 3 diagnosis. Um, and along with that, he also was diagnosed with an insomnia disorder because he was like not sleeping, and global developmental delay, which is a common one that goes along with everything. And so from there, we did what we needed to do. We got him on the Pennsylvania Medicaid, and signed him up for ABA program through a local agency that was it was a newer agency at the time. They only dealt with private insurance, so I had to jump through a couple hoops to work with my insurance through my uh, employer to work through all of that. But at the end of the day, he was able to get his ABA therapy, and things started to work out much better. Um, then, of course, March of 2020 hit, and
Oh my.
COVID, yeah,
Yeah.
it destroyed a lot of
Tough
things.
times.
Hmm. So when that happened, we lost our ABA services. We switched to another agency who did take Medicaid, because I had lost my job. I lost our insurance, and Greyson was on just just straight Medicaid then. And you could definitely tell the difference between the two programs. We switched to telehealth BCBA, and that was very difficult. The BCBA had never met him and was doing like everything telehealth based, and he's not a kid that sits still. So running after him with a camera was just not happening. It was very difficult. So that's really how things progressed over the next year. Was just we struggled. And so I had to use my knowledge in the past professional positions I had been in, and basically had to be a mom and a BCBA while homeschooling a kindergartner. Um, and so Grayson went from screaming and crying all day, every day, to manding for things with picture cards and pointing to things. And I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I printed out and laminated so many cards. But I had to do that. I didn't have anybody to show me how to do things. And Derek at the time was he was just a BHT at that time. And so he was working on getting his master's degree and his ABA license. But it was a rough go. I mean, COVID was a rough go for all of us, but especially those who had to have kids at home too. So
Sure. Yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of where things started for me with Grayson. Since then, we've tacked on a lot of different diagnoses to his list of things. He has a couple brain things going on, and he has genetic components along with it and whatnot. But that's really where things kind of started with us. But I'm very, very passionate about early intervention and early diagnosis, and parents really knowing where to start, how to get the help that they need, and knowing where they need to go. Because there is help out there. There's not a lot, but there is help out there. And I'm hoping that this platform is going to be a way that we can at least inform some parents or caregivers of some of those options that are out there.
Yeah, there are options. And, I haven't had to do what you've done or what others have had to do, but I've walked alongside families that have had to navigate, where do I start? I don't even have the diagnosis yet. Who can
Mhm.
help me? And there is help out there. It's just knowing what that help is, and it varies by every state.
Mhm.
I think we're going to have a lot more knowledge and support to offer in Maryland and Pennsylvania areas. But there, we definitely hope to be able to help provide that type of support to families and maybe alleviate a little bit of that anxiety of, like, I know the first step for anything major, I feel like the first step is always the hardest. And I'm sure that there's many steps along the way that are very hard, but um, when you don't know something, it's terrifying.
Mhm.
So hopefully we can be part of that arsenal of resources and support for families out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're also in that age where I don't know if you've worked with many adults on the spectrum, but especially here in Pennsylvania, the once you hit 18, it's like a whole different world. Um,
Yes.
so I'm familiar personally with like the younger, you know, 17 and younger type of policies and procedures, but I'm slowly getting a taste of the 18 plus because Grayson currently has a waiver through the state of Pennsylvania, which is for being 9 years old is really, really, really rare. Most kids in Pennsylvania don't really get the waiver until 14 or 15. Um, and so I think the reason why he got the waiver so young was because I am just very persistent, and I am the squeaky wheel that will not stop squeaking until I get what that boy needs. So,
Sometimes you have to do it. You have to do it for the sake of your
oh,
children.
absolutely.
So,
Yeah. So, if we have to teach the parent to be the squeaky wheel, that's one thing that I think we can do. And just knowing how to advocate for their child and, even for themselves. I think that, that's very, very important. And, if it's just a little tiny bit of information that we can provide, I think that it's worth it.
and
So,
some laughs along the way.
yes. Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know I'm not going to pretend to understand what it's like to be a parent of a child with autism, but I do know that, taking things day by day and is often the philosophy that a lot of families kind of lean towards, while
Hmm.
at the same time preparing for the future is important. Um, but like you were saying, it's a different world. It's transitioning from that 18 below to 18 above. I mean, even you have that small little transition prior to school age, early intervention age, then to school
Hmm.
age. But the transition from school age to adulthood is definitely, I think it's pretty safe to say that's a big area of need. Um,
Oh, yes.
Huge. Um, but also equipping your child and your family and your support system to know how that's going to look for the future, I think is important. But also to, you can let me know what your thoughts are here, but I think to not let it bog you down so much. I think appreciating the daily small wins um, is really important for just uh, for can't think of my words, guys. Sorry. The daily
It's
small
good
wins
for
are
the
important.
yeah, and it is. Yeah, you're definitely right. It's important for the soul. Um,
There you go.
and it definitely changes your mindset. Um, I think that we were talking last week or so, my husband and I used to look at things in the future, and it was so doom and gloom that it really does, it weighs on you. And it's, I'm not a psychologist, so I don't pretend to be, but the studies of the brain show that if you tell yourself something so many times, your brain is going to start believing it. So if you just keep telling yourself that your life is terrible, it's miserable, blah blah blah, you're stuck in this situation, your mind is going to believe that. And it is going to be harder for you to see the joys in your life. And we were stuck in that mindset, and it really took one of Greyson's psychiatrists to tell me, don't look at the future, don't look at the past. You need to look at right now, today, and find the things that he is doing, that maybe he didn't do yesterday. He might not do it tomorrow, but he's doing it today. He's doing it right now. This is where you need to find your joy. And ever since then, that's the way we've been looking at things. And my life personally has been so much happier and so much less stressful thinking about life that way.
Yeah. And you were sharing that, your story and the process through your grief, essentially there's a large component of grief um, that I think a lot of families face, if not all, when they become aware of a diagnosis such as this. And you were sharing kind of how this has really helped you to kind of progress to a healthy place. Um,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I think everyone's on their own timeline. But that's our hope. That's our hope that, you have this different lens that I think can really be so valuable to families. And it's one thing to be told, but it's another thing to feel understood. So
Hmm.
I think that's really, really valuable to our
Yeah,
families.
yeah, definitely. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm hopeful that the podcast is going to be, a breath of fresh air for parents or caregivers or, even professionals to come in and get our perspective, a parent and a professional's perspective from, both of our point of views on where things are at right now. There's been a lot of different things said recently about autism, and you know there's there's new information being founded frequently, and new studies and everything. So I think it will be very interesting to see what people think about from your side of things being the professional, and then my side of things being the parent. And I want it to not be like a stick in the mud type deal. I want it to be very natural, fluid, real. Like, I don't know. I feel like with parents when they have an autistic child or with really any medical needs, they see a lot of doctors and they get a lot of like medical jargon kind of thrown to them.
Yeah.
And when you find a doctor that kind of is real with you and just kind of breaks things down and tells you how it is, that's really for those, at least for me, those are the doctors that I respect more. When they kind of break it down and just say, this is what this is how you're going to deal with it or not. That's really what I appreciate. So by sticking to that kind of mindset with the podcast, I'm hopeful that parents are going to, or caregivers, whoever is listening, is going to like that and respect that and hopefully not write us bad reviews.
Yeah. I mean, we're just people that want to help, and I work with many professionals, and I also am a mom, and I've also been to doctors that have spoken
Hmm.
over my head. And excuse me, what does that mean? Please,
Hmm.
please speak English. It's definitely a different skill set, um, but I think the collaborative aspect of it is so important. And I can say in my work, my daily work, the biggest wins and the biggest successes that I see are when there is that collaboration. And I think it's just so important for like you and I, to collaborate for the greater good of helping people in this field, people that in this population that have this diagnosis or similar diagnoses. Yeah, I think it's so important, and that's kind of our intention here, is to bring it full circle and be relatable, and to encourage. I really want to encourage families and practitioners alike to value the importance, of that collaboration. I always tell when I work with my families that I have this line, and all of my supervisees know it. I'm the expert on behavior, but you're the expert on your child. And without
Hmm.
you, I am not going to be able to do my job half as well, as I need to do it. And there's so many other experts that help enhance families' lives and individuals' lives that aren't here today. And we welcome it. I think that that's something that I feel very passionate about, is to carry on that collaboration.
Yeah, yeah, I totally 100% agree with all of that. And I really like that little motto because so many times we've had people come in and, try to modify Grayson's behaviors and things like that, with like different behavioral plans and whatnot. And it just goes against everything that he is. And when it fails miserably, I often then say, well, you didn't listen to me. So yeah. So yeah, no, I
Yeah.
love that. I love that.
You just know your children way better. I mean, it's not so scientific, it's not so behavioral observable in my field, as you would say, but there's just, you just know your child. You've raised them since day one. You know their tendencies. And there's many times like I have a little one right now. She's nearly 6 months old. Just this morning was crying, couldn't console her. You know, people are, my mother lives with us, saying that it's this, it's that, and I just knew that cry was different, that behavior was different, and I could kind of put my finger on exactly what was going on. And I know a lot of us parents have that same experience with our children. We just know their cries. We know their behaviors, we know their tendencies, we know their little tiny tendencies that others wouldn't pick up on. So um yeah, I think that's very important. I want to encourage practitioners to to value that parent input, um, and hope that parents feel empowered and understand how significant of a role they play in their child's progress. I mean, you, Kate, were sharing during COVID. You were the BCBA mom and everything, and that's hard. That's very hard.
Yeah.
But kudos to you for recognizing that, hey, I'm the one that's going to make the difference now. And I don't think even in 2025, when we're not dealing with such challenges, I don't really think that's going to change much for families. That the parents really do play a very crucial role in their child's progress.
Hmm.
But we don't want that to feel like a weight for families. We want that should be knowledge that they have, but we want to feel like we can, like we said, be lift the spirits and be supportive. And while that is a heavy thing to bear, to help equip you and to be able to do that, to be able to support your child in that way. Thank you so much for listening in. We are so honored to be able to share on this platform and um, hopefully make a difference, make an impact. And we hope that you will continue to join us as we unfold different topics that are meaningful to families and individuals that have autism diagnoses. We're just really grateful to be here.
So I think our next episode, we are going to discuss how and where to get started to find a diagnosis, what to look for your child, or if, I mean, this could even pertain to adults or adolescents, any age really, where you can go, what you can do to find a provider that would be able to provide a diagnosis, and what potential barriers there could be to finding treatment and a diagnosis. We hope that you continue to listen in and join us when we bring in some special guests and continue to elaborate on our stories and provide information and hopefully some beneficial facts, information, stories, things that hopefully will be able to either enlighten you, make you laugh, make you cry, maybe all three. Um, just to provide some joy in your life.
Thanks again for listening. We're looking forward to seeing you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Sip and stim, sip and stim.